Hi, today I'm going to share with you the affordances of the IT cognitive tool Padlet. I'm going to present how it meets the requirements of pedagogy, social, and technical affordances that make it a suitable platform for teaching and learning. So, what is Padlet? Padlet is essentially a digital interactive post-it board that provides for the common space for people to share ideas and concepts. And now I'm going to show you what the website looks like. So this is the introductory web page of Padlet. And to start a Padlet account is pretty simple. I go to login, and I can choose to log in with three various ways, either with my Google account, Facebook account, or I can choose to start my own sole Padlet account. So if you have a Google account, you can just go to Gmail, and this will bring you to your dashboard. This is my dashboard and the various Padlets that I have been experimenting with. So I'm going to start now with looking at the pedagogy of affordance and how Padlet meets it. So in terms of syllabus, Garnier's 9 events of instruction, course content organization, and learning activities as an assessment, Padlet meets all of these quite well. And I'm going to show you how it does so. First of all, we have to understand that this tool is very open and flexible, and therefore it makes it easy for the educator, or rather the user in this case, to manipulate the various functions to fit the pedagogical intent of the lesson. So for instance, if I wanted to have students share their ideas, or rather, yes, to share their ideas on maybe a lesson they had on the various affordances of ICT tools, I could set up a page like this that provides instruction and shows examples of how I would like the post to be done. Now, this particular background that you see here with instructions and the three bubbles here, pedagogical, technical, and social, is actually a background that I created. It was not provided by Padlet. However, Padlet has got this feature where I can add in my own background, so I can create whatever I want. In this case, I did that on PowerPoint, and I uploaded it as a JPEG file into the selection. So by putting up my own background, and by Padlet allowing me to manipulate the flexibility of its features, I can actually design the resources and features and functions to produce the kind of pedagogical content I would like for my class. That's why I say, in terms of the syllabus, Garnier's 9 events of instruction, course content organization, and learning activities, the open system of Padlet allows for all that. Now, I just want to highlight a little bit on in Garnier's 9 events of instruction, particularly in the area of assessment and performance and the provision of feedback. Now, in this case, Padlet provides an actual feature for that. All I have to do is to set the parameter here by enabling reactions and comments. So comments, so that everyone, including the participants of the Padlet, can comment on each other's posts. And reactions, the grading is the grading choice is here, or I can choose a star to give a star system post for the post, as well as a voting system or a like system. It really depends on how I would like to assess or show my feedback and assessment of the students' posts. The maximum grade, if I put for grading, can also be manipulated, and I can also, I'll show you these other things in a while. Now, besides these pedagogical affordances, in terms of pedagogical approach, all these, it again rests on how the user or the educator manipulates and designs her her Padlet board or his Padlet board, and how they put everything together to present the learning environment on the Padlet to the student. And it would determine whether it is any of these approaches or any combination of these approaches. So if I were to look at one of my Padlets as an example, if I were to look at this one here, this in itself is very student-centered because students have to share what they have learned or what they understand. It is collaborative. Yes, it's content-based, but it is also to some extent inquiry-based because students would have to they're not only engaged in the content that they've learned, but they have to explore it as well as apply, to show some form of application in the elaboration that they're required to put for each of their answers. Now, whether it is a process-oriented or it becomes a product-oriented piece of work, again, it depends on the teacher. If I want the students to put this up in real time during lesson, then it becomes very much process-oriented because I can see in real time the students' thought process as all their posts are being put up synchronously. However, if I choose for them to do it as homework and as individual reflection boards, it will end up as an individual piece of work that is more product oriented because each of them will be submitting their own end product of a Padlet. So with regard to pedagogy, Padlet has all the various features, versatility as well as flexibility to meet most pedagogical needs. Now, in terms of social affordance, does it provide a safe and comfortable environment? Does it promote interaction and communication, as well as provide appropriate tools to facilitate communication? It does to a large and, for some instances, a moderate extent. So, in terms of safety and comfort, Padlet does provide all that because in this area here, I can choose to filter profanity, which looks after the verbal environment of the Padlet. And when I choose to share it with my students, I can also choose to switch on the moderation button so that students' posts are moderated by myself before they are allowed to be posted for everyone to see. So in that instance, for moderation, it is important and it makes the environment safe. I can also edit and remove students' posts should they not be relevant or offensive. And in terms of privacy, if students were to join the Padlet the Padlet that's being put up for class via the QR code, which is here, their identity is anonymous. So in that sense, it does provide some form of security for the student. But later on, I'm going to share with you how teachers can work around this because it does work against identifying how students progress in their learning, how to monitor students' progress in learning of the Padlet if they're all anonymous. Okay, so the other social affordance, which would be the appropriate tools to facilitate communication. Now, Padlet, if you look at it, it is essentially an asynchronous discussion board. It does provide platforms like the various social media platforms as well as email for sharing the Padlet. And but apart from that, there's no other social affordance, which I will highlight a little later on, or rather elaborate a little later on in the shortfalls of Padlet. So covering the final part would be the technical affordance. Now, in all these areas, I must say that Padlet covers this to quite a large extent. I want to especially highlight their technical support, which is I would say, quite sufficient, because if you look at the navigation tool, the navigation bar here, it has everything from the latest news on Padlet, what kind of Padlets that have been made to give people ideas. It also provides video tutorials for new users, a knowledge base page where you can type in your questions. It's something like a search engine for FAQs. And apart from that, you can even tweet Padlet or write them any problems that you might have. And they also have this part where you have the apps and plugins that you might need to make the Padlet work even more effectively. So in terms of technical support, I must say Padlet does provide quite an extensive range of technical support. It is also very aesthetic, flexible in its aesthetic design, and also very user-friendly. It is easy to use. It is easy to navigate, and accessibility, like what I showed you earlier with the QR code, makes it so easy for students to just access it. They don't even have to have their own account. I would say that in general, when it comes to the technical affordance of Padlet, it does meet most of the necessities. Now, some of the shortfalls would be things like the synchronous communication and instant messaging and video conferencing features which are missing. The page size can be slightly limiting, so this is one of the technicalities of the affordance that can restrict the user when in terms of creating a Padlet. But this can be overcome by creating complementary Padlet boards. So again, it depends on the teacher how they want to do this. Like I have here an example of how I would maybe show the students the instructions or how I would like them to post their sharings on the working Padlet board. Then after I've shown them the example, I will move over to the complementary working board where they have actually more space to do their posting. But here again, it is very limiting because each post, I'm sorry, let me just get to this example here. Each post, the size of each post-it is limited in terms of the sizing. So after a while, it can get a little crowded with all the layering. So that is one of the technical, I would say, affordances that Padlet has a bit of a shortfall. And also the tracking of individual contribution and student identification, like I highlighted earlier. Unless a student has got a Padlet account, their names will not appear. If I were to just show you the example, their names will not appear like so. In fact, it will just be anonymous. So what teachers can do is actually work around that and instruct students to include their name in their posts before they start elaborating on it. So there are ways around the shortfalls of Padlet. However, if it is a bit too complicated or you find it a little clumsy to use, then there are other applications out there that can actually meet these areas of Padlet's shortfalls. But on the whole, I would say that Padlet meets most pedagogy, social, and technical affordances that make it a suitable teaching and learning platform for education. And I would recommend this to any teacher to add it to their repertoire of teaching strategies. With that, I want to say thank you for viewing my presentation and have a good day.